Hello there, person on the internet, and welcome back to my channel. In case you're new here, allow me to introduce myself real quick. My name is Vandeputte. Sounds all about time-lapse travel and teaching. That was the worst one I've done so far. Anyways, in case you missed part 1 of this 2-part video series, in part 1, I unbox and do a little hands-on preview of this kit that you see here. And what is this kit? This is the Syrp Genie II, Mark II, Syrp Genie II. What is this? This is time-lapse equipment. So a time-lapse, as you know, I presume, is where you speed up time and you show all these cool things. And now how can you take your time-lapses to the next level? You can invest in some motion control gear, and that's what this is. So this is motion control gear. This thing moves your camera slowly from side to side on any camera slider, and this thing turns and tilts the camera. So linear panning and tilting of your camera. Pretty fun. As I mentioned, this is part 2, and in part 2 I'll be doing a full-on review, and I'll run you through how to set this up properly and how to use it and what I think of it, a couple of frequently asked questions, and we'll talk about my pros and cons of this new gear. So I've had this equipment now for the last couple of weeks. Thanks, by the way, Syrp, for sending that over. Oh, I should mention that Syrp sent me this in exchange for a little hands-on review video, so take that as you want. It's not a paid sponsorship, it's just me being honest about it. That being said, if you've seen part 1, you know that I'm pretty stoked with these two things here. Now, what have I used these products for so far? I used it on the Ford shoot where we shot a Ford Mustang being drawn on by me and my friend Stefan Kuntz, well, mainly Stefan. You can check out that video up here. That went really well. Then I've used this device specifically to shoot some motion control stuff for product photography. I used it in the new Hero 7 intro video I made that went live a couple days ago, which did really well. I used this kind of as a turntable device to, you know, bring the product into focus when shooting macro stuff, so that's really cool as well. And then I've used both devices and the rail, the Magic Carpet carbon fiber, in a massive old bookstore that was having a sale, so I used that to shoot people coming in, checking out books and stuff, and yeah, it's pretty fun to have a kit that is so mobile. The beauty of the system is that it's completely modular, so say you just want a slider move with your camera, you can mount this on your Syrp slider or on any other slider, or you can just use the pan and tilt head on itself on a tripod or on a standalone little thingy to shoot pan and tilt motions, or you can combine both and have a 3-axis movement, meaning you can slide your camera and pan it and tilt it at the same time. Now that's pretty fun stuff, and I love the way those shots look. They always, as I mentioned earlier, they really elevate your shots to the next level. Now, first up, I want to talk to you about how to set this gear up. Hit the power button on your devices to power them up. What a surprise. Open up your app and go to the Connect tab, and it'll recognize the two devices. Just hit those little things on the right and they'll connect quite easily. Mount your capstan on your Genie linear, make sure the ropes are going in the right direction, then attach the ropes to the end of the rail. Again, you can attach this linear to any rail on the market as long as you have the removable end caps with you. Mount the pan and tilt head on your linear either directly or with a ball head if you're on an incline. Then get ready to set up your move. Hit create content, then do new setup or resume last setup if you have one. These are the 3 axes, so you can see it's a visual color system. It's quite easy to see what does what. Set up your first keyframe, hit start, then set up your second keyframe. More keyframe functionalities will be added later on, by the way, through a firmware update. Once you've hit your second keyframe, hit end, then done. Then this is a visual graph of your move. You can switch it to video or time-lapse mode, adjust your timing settings, so recording time, interval, and play time. It's nice to have these 0.1 second intervals as well. Adjust your timing. At the bottom you can adjust your settings, and then if you want to adjust your keyframes later on, you can do that per axis, and it's quite nice to have these separate degrees here because it makes it just, yeah, nice and accurate, and we'll talk more about repeatable moves later. Once it's all set up, you can do a preview move, and then you can connect your camera and hit start and it'll run. You can also set up the pan and tilt head using the screen and the joystick at the bottom. Just put in your starting point, then put in your end point, adjust your settings, do a preview of your move, and then hit record and it'll run. Here's how you update the firmware, by the way. You click the message that says update firmware. So that's it for the setup. I've had a few recurring questions, so I'll address those now. The main question I've been getting is, how does this deal on an incline when your slider is not on a full horizontal move, but when it's at an incline or when it's vertical? Now, I've been talking to Ben from Syrp, and he's told me that with the current firmware, because of how they power this device and how it works with the regulations of the voltage and the current, whatever, I'm not an engineer. They will improve that later on, but for now you can do a 2.5 kilogram object on top of this in total, going vertical. That being said, check out this clip I stole from Syrp, sorry guys, where it shows you the genius design behind the little pulley at the end of the rail. Attach a counterweight and then you can load it up with as many kilos as you want for vertical moves. The only downside with inclines is that you gotta add a ball head to make sure that your camera is level, which is something that adds just a little bit more height and potentially a little bit more wobble. Now about wobble, I'm very, very confident using this in high wind situations. As long as your base is sturdy, it won't be wobbling. That being said, the higher you mount your camera on a system, the easier it is to wobble, because that's just how physics work. I like to keep things as low and as steady as possible. Another question that popped up quite a bit is battery life. The battery life has been really good on these two devices. I've only charged them once. I used them for the entire Ford shoot, and then I used them for a few hours, I think 2 or 3 hours of shooting in the bookstore, and yeah, they just keep going. The battery indicator in the app could be slightly better, but honestly, if you just charge them up, you know you're going to be able to run, I think, for up to 24 hours for a time-lapse move. I might just put that on the screen somewhere to confirm that real quick. Then the third frequently asked question is the weight capacity of this thing. Now, can this mount, for example, a 1DX with a lens, and can it tilt it all the way to, you know, 90 degrees to then tilt it back up? Yes, it can. The load capacities are on the screen. It's quite remarkable. I do expect those types of moves to drain the battery quicker, but you won't be doing those moves all the time, so I don't think it really matters that much. With motion control, I find a tip: the more subtle the move, the better. The big moves where the camera like goes up and shoots this way and then that way, they don't really look as good. They're quite distracting. I like motion control or Moco moves in time-lapse when it's nice and subtle, when it's a subtle move sliding from one side to the other and maybe slowly shifting the camera. You're really not going to have that much benefit from swinging your camera all the way around. If anything, it'll just distract the viewer and take focus away from the scene that you're trying to shoot and that you're trying to capture in a nice cinematic move. So yeah, to me, it makes sense to have motion control moves always nice and subtle. Now let's talk about the pros and cons, and this list is way out of balance because there's not a lot of things that I don't like about these things. First up, the pros. As you can see, these devices are rather small. They have a really small footprint. They fit in my photo bag along with 2 other lenses, 2 other cameras, a bunch of accessories, etc. And that's what I love about this device that we'll go on to in the next bit. It's just really well designed. It's really smart. There's not a lot of cables hanging out externally. There's no external battery that you got to plug in. Just this unit panning and tilting on itself is just, yeah, it's honestly, it's really small, especially compared to other motion control devices where you have your panning and tilting units that you got to build separately. This thing is just really, really well and really, really smartly design. Does that make sense? Major benefit of the Genie II Linear is the fact that you can mount it on any slider out there using those end caps that I mentioned earlier. Mount it on the slider, and as long as you find a way to tie the rope to the start and the end point of the slider, you can move this thing around. Not only on sliders, you can mount it on the cable cam, you can mount it on a little skateboard or any other like dolly setup. It's really pretty versatile. Not only is the design really smart, it is also really modern because they've included USB-C ports. I am a huge fan of USB-C ports, as you would know if you've been watching me for a while. I don't get companies that keep making non-USB-C devices, pretty much. The smart design also translates into the app for these things. The app will keep getting more functionalities. The update process is really easy, both for the firmware for this thing as for the app. It just auto updates via your app or Play Store. And yeah, it's super user friendly once again, so pretty big fan of that. I like modular systems. It's pretty clear you can use this or you can use this separately or you can use them at the same time. The Genie Mini that I haven't tried yet, which is just a little tilt device, is the same. It's also modular. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to work together as well, so I should be getting some of those units in the mail soon. I'm looking forward to trying those out. If you want me to review the Genie Mini, please drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. That's it for the positives. So again, really small footprint, really well designed, really intelligent, it's modular, super user-friendly. Yeah, you can tell I think I'm quite a big fan of these two devices. Sorry about the change in lighting. I'm using a bit of natural light on this side and it just keeps coming in and out with these damn patchy clouds. It's pretty annoying to film with, but you gotta do what you gotta do, you know? Anyways, over to the negatives now. I mentioned the list is not too long. The main complaint I've seen in the comments on the previous video and online is the price point of these devices. Yes, they are expensive. That being said, if you know me, you know I don't love expensive gear, but expensive gear is expensive for a reason. It's going to be reliable. It is definitely expandable. In this case, you keep getting firmware upgrades that add functionalities. And if you look at what type of footage that you can make with this for its price point compared to competitors, I've got to say it's not too bad. And you know, it's a brand new product. It's so well designed. I don't lie about these things. I'm really, really impressed with this stuff. So yes, I see the negative is the price, but I also see the value that you get for that price. So it depends on how you look at it, I guess. And then the second and last negative thing, I know this list is very, very short, is the fact that it uses a rope system on the linear track to do the sliding moves. Rope is not solid, so doing exact repeatable moves on the linear axis is gonna be hard because... Is it gonna be hard? I shot this before actually trying it and I tested it out and I'm wrong. I checked with Ben from Syrp and he told me that the fact that just because you use a rope system that it's not repeatable is a bit of a myth. So I tried it out last night and I gotta say I'm really impressed. I was flat out wrong. I made an assumption that was false and I shouldn't have spoken ahead of time. So let me show you these results. I set up a move, a 3-axis move with 2 keyframes, and I did the same move over and over and over again. And now let me overlay 2 of the shots, the 1st and the 6th shot, and I will cut to the other shot mid-move, and you will see that there's not a gap or not a jump in the motion, there's only a jump in the reflection on the EOS R box, which shows you that it is an entirely clean transition from the one shot to the next shot, which was quite far apart in movement. Ben said on a 6-hour test they had between 0 and 5mm drift. Now that to me is entirely acceptable for working with a rope system. If your goal is to ever only do repeatable motion moves, then this might not be the right system, but if you have the system and you want to play around with it, then it does work, so that's pretty exciting. So that's the pros and cons. Now up to the conclusion. I think you can tell by the way this video is made and by how much I've been posting about these things. I'm seriously in love with these devices. They fit in my camera bag. They're really smart. They're really well designed. The team behind it's great. It's a small company from New Zealand. I just, you know, I think it's pretty straightforward. You've been watching this video up until now, so you can tell what I'm thinking of this thing. It's pricey, but it's amazing. So that's my conclusion. Should you get it? Yeah, why not? If you do, make sure to check out the affiliate link down below so I get a bit of a percentage of that sale. You support the channel at no extra cost to you, and I'm really happy and you're happy with the new products, and Syrp's happy that they made a sale, and everybody wins. If you want to stay up to date with whatever it is that I'm doing, be it product reviews or unboxings or blog posts or whatever, I would love it if you could check out my email list. Social media lately is difficult. It's ever-changing, algorithms control everyone's feeds, and I've decided to take control back over whatever it is that I do. I don't want to be dependent of other companies like Facebook or Instagram or whatever, even YouTube. I am building my own email list. You can subscribe to my email list and only get relevant updates about time-lapse travel and teaching. Do me a favor and check that out. If you want to support the channel directly, you can check out my Patreon page where you get early access to all of my content, download behind-the-scenes stuff, scripts, wallpapers, a time-lapse cheat sheet, all that good stuff is on patreon.com/MattJoes. Feel free to drop by on Twitter and Instagram. You know my name is Matthew Vandeputte. I'm Matt Joes pretty much everywhere. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. I'd like to thank Syrp for sending this over. I hope you found this a good video. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, drop them in the comments down below and try and get back to you. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. You have that sliding button, so I'm going to show you that again. You slide that and it unlocks this plate, and in here you find the battery. The slider I'm using today is the Magic Carpet Carbon Fiber. This is the 60mm version, centimeter obviously. They have extension kits and you can extend it for as long as you want.